Hey everyone, you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I am your host, Andrew Davis. And this episode is brought to you by my sponsors, BCW Supplies. I like my comic books to come pristine, and so please use my code to get 10% off your entire order. That is Pop Anime Comics. 10% off your entire order. Obviously save yourself some money, as well as I am also sponsored by my very own t-shirt currently up on Redbubble. And this is making fun of Taco Bell, Gundam, the most interesting man in the world, and Fallout. And so those are my two main sponsors. Please support this show by buying my t-shirt and using my codes. And I have with me comic creator and NFT producer Nima from Threefold Comics. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Andrew.
I am very, very, very excited because a lot's going on with you. And a lot's about to go on with you starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
As you're minting, I think, your first NFT, that project that you're throwing out there, as well as the project is also dealing with the first glow in the dark comic, fully glow in the dark comic. And you're going to explain to me after how I'm supposed to mint this tomorrow, because I have no idea how I'm supposed to do that. But let's catch everybody up to speed on what this project is, what's going on with it, because a bunch of people are hearing about it for the first time. A bunch of people are terrified about cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and this is an awesome idea, though, because it is the world's first glow-in-the-dark comic.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. I mean, you can go to threefoldcomics.com and you can mint a physical comic. I've got one here somewhere. But yeah, we've produced these. The comic fully glows in the dark. Every single page, front and back, interiors, and when you mint the comic, when you get it, you basically just pay for it with cryptocurrencies. That's the fancy name for minting. You also get a torch and the comic sent to you worldwide. And yeah, a lot of people. I was actually just on Comics and Crypto, which is another really cool show, and talking about that. That just aired today, and it's the different NFTs. I think until you actually purchase one and experience it, it's quite hard to understand and to wrap your head around it. But the idea with this, for instance, is you get one NFT and the comic, and we send you what's called airdrops. So every year you get comic books sent directly to your wallet. So that's kind of the exciting kind of idea of NFT. It's kind of like Patreon, but supercharged. I guess that's maybe one way to describe it.
Yeah, let's even go into this a little bit, because obviously it's not just the NFT element anymore of this. It's also the physical side of it, where there are NFTs that it's just straight digital and there's no physical component to it. There's NFTs that have game applications. Yours has a physical comic book, world's first glow in the dark book. And so where did this idea come from? Because obviously in the NFT and crypto space, I think what's starting to happen is that you're now starting to see physical goods come out of NFTs, application uses coming out of NFTs, and then also, what you're doing, which is also providing airdrops and other reasons to hold on to the NFT or create value with the NFT at the same time. Right. So this is where this gets really fun. And where did this idea come from? Because you're doing a bit of each of those things.
Yeah, that's right. I just thought it was a much more interesting thing to produce, because I've been involved in crypto since 2017, but really got deep in 2020 into NFTs, and was really excited by what people were doing in the space. And yeah, the idea of having a physical, the idea for a physical glow in the dark comic, I'll start with the comic itself. Back in the 90s, one of my friends used to read The Spectre, and in the 90s there was a big kind of, there was a lot of fad covers. You had holofoil, holographic covers and foil covers, and embossing and die cut, all kinds of stuff. And he had the issue of Spectre which had glow in the dark on the cover. And I remember asking him, I said, does this comic also have glow in the dark inside? And he said no. I was so disappointed. So I think that planted a seed. So years later, when it was time for me to tell my story, I thought, let's let's put glow in the dark on every single page and really push it to the max. Have Easter eggs and hidden elements and stuff like that that appear when the glow in the dark inks are activated. It adds another layer of storytelling. Yeah, it's never been done before. So
Yeah, and to even talk about that, because, and we're going to dive into the story in a second, but this is what really makes this interesting, for me at least, is that what is that like? Because it has never been done before. So, what is it like to draw the story and create the story, and then have the glow in the dark? Because you could read the story without the glow in the dark, but then
yeah,
you throw the glow in the dark, and then it reveals another side to the story, and it also reads the story differently, and then also you get into the realm of printing, because printing a glow in the dark book is different than printing a non glow in the dark book, if that makes any sense. I mean, I don't know how far I'm going down the rabbit hole with everybody here, but it does change the way you print something. It changes the way you also illustrate something in a lot of ways. And so, what is that like for you? Because it also has a lot more dimension to it.
yeah, it's an incredible amount of work. I mean, I think you have to be a little bit crazy to do a glow in the dark comic because you're essentially drawing an entire comic and then almost drawing it again when you're adding another layer in. But but I thought it was something that was really exciting, and I wanted to create something that was that you could give to a so-called civilian, like we're comics people, like you and I, Andrew. We love comics and anime and that sort of stuff. But for a lot of people that may not be comic book readers, I wanted you to be able to hand this book to someone that maybe wasn't a comics native, and have them get into it and enjoy it. And the glow in the dark element sort of it adds enough of a novelty factor to maybe encourage people to maybe try comics that aren't native comic book readers. And some friends have shared it with their kids, and the kids have loved it too as well because it's just super fun to sit there, with the torch or the black light and activate the inks, and it's pretty cool to experience, in person.
Yeah, and even to go further into this, because I think this is something that is fascinating as well, where obviously in this stage in comics, and with Kickstarter, that people crowdfund books, and those books are almost a novelty as well, where we see, covers that have UV, coating on it. We have glow in the dark covers, we have hollow covers, we have metal covers, and I feel at this stage, and I'm a comic book investor. I'm fascinated by your project because I view it more as an investment where at some point I actually think the book is going to be worth just as much as the NFT is going to be worth. Or I think, the value, and I view your NFT project and I view that the book has also real value because it's the world's first glow in the dark book. And it might very well be that I could flip that book and it'll pay for the entire NFT to some degree rather quickly because like, this is a really cool concept. And once the mint is done, that's kind of the only way you can get these books. I think you're going to be able to get this story in a lot of different ways because getting this digitally is going to be a hell of a lot easier than getting it physically once the mint is done. And I find that really this is entering the novelty phase where this is saying, hey, we're doing a glow in the dark book. And so I'm curious how you feel because I back a lot of Kickstarters. And to me, this is sort of taking that up a notch, but also funding it very differently as well, where this is not crowdfunding, but it's similar to it.
Yeah, no, I think you're very perceptive there. You're right. It is actually it is very similar to crowdfunding. In fact, I mean, when you back an NFT project or invest in it, you sort of become part of the team and part of the project, and it is sort of like you do with a Kickstarter or any other crowdfunded project, but it's that like to a more extreme level. It's sort of crowdfunding on steroids. I've heard it described as, um, which is pretty accurate, and yeah, and the idea was what to in fact have a physical and the NFT, and and have both of them sort of increase in value. And I hope people do, you know, get the comic and view it as an investment, and I hope that it does yield returns for them. because it is the first. It is the very first one. For instance, there's rarity scores as well. So depending on which one you pull, it'll be a second print or a first print. So for the books that are first printing, they may even be worth slightly more. But yeah, I mean, it's never been done before. And if you look back historically, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is sort of the first project for me that comes to mind. I think the first run of TMNT issue 1 was 1,000 issues, I think. And the first printing for that, is worth, quite a bit of money. And it depends on whether or not the project continues to build and what other forms it takes. Whether there's a computer game spin-off or maybe an anime feature film or even a live action feature film, all that stuff can also kind of take a project to the next level. So you never know. With a lot of comics, they do get licensed in Hollywood and picked up, and Hollywood's and is always looking for new things and exciting things to produce. So there's always that potential. But excuse me. Those the success though of what it does is out of my hands. I mean, all I can do is continue building and with the team.
So, so we're going to table the NFT stuff because there's a lot of fun stuff with that, and even talking about Kickstarter as well with that too. But before we really dive into that, I do want to actually talk about what this story is about because I think the story is just as important.
Yeah,
Where pretty much it is a post-apocalyptical, guy whose clan did something horrific, and he sort of failed to stop it before, and then he leaves his clan, and then 10 years later it's about to happen again. But obviously he has more skills, he has more knowledge, and this is sort of his story of dealing with that. And so what was this like really building him out and building this event out? Because we're really diving into, obviously a past event is playing a factor in the future,
yeah,
obviously righting a wrong, opposing your clan again in a lot of ways, and even dealing with, on a morality level, both, who are you loyal to? Are you also more informed of what happened the last time? And are you realizing that maybe there's something else politically going on? And there's a lot at stake here with what's going on with this. And we kind of get that vibe going on. And I don't want to spoil too much.
no, that was a great introduction. I mean, that's kind of you've summarized the kind of overall high level synopsis. And yeah, I mean that's sort of what it is. It's about someone who sort of has to face this situation again, and how is he going to deal with it? And what's cool as well, he's returning to his clan because with the initial inciting incident, this sort of mining vessel is broken down, and the clan comes in, the militia comes in to help them, and the leader says, we're just going to take the entire mineral shipment. We're really in trouble. We need to pay taxes. We're starving. So basically they kill everyone and take all the resources. And and this guy, our protagonist, is the 2IC. He's the second in command, and he tries to stop it, he can't, and he says, look, he says to his captain, who's his childhood friend, he says, look, I can't back this behavior. I can't, I can't approve of what you're doing. I'm going to leave, but you just make sure you never do this again. And then he gets the call from one of his colleagues and says, look, it's about to happen again 10 years later. So he has to, and he knows he's the only one that can stop it. And what's cool as well is that this captain sent a whole bunch of bounty hunters. So he's got to deal with bounty hunters trying to track him down and stop him. And excuse me. And so yeah, they're basically coming at him from all sides, and he's just got to get back as quickly as he can and try to stop it. And I'm a big fan of kind of high action, high adventure and fast paced action and sort of manga style storytelling where that you don't have to have lots and lots of words and dialogue and bog the story down. Like Mad Max Fury Road, Mad Max Road Warrior, they're huge inspirations for me. And if you look at those movies, there's not a lot of dialogue. You know, it's the storytelling is it's sort of what you see on screen, and it unfolds that way. Sort of the characters tell you who they are through their actions. You know, there's not a huge amount of talking.
Yeah, let's even talk about that because obviously, we're tabling the NFT because that's only half the project. It is still a comic book, and one of the things is that a lot of comics I feel are overworked. I guess
Yeah,
is a good way to put it, and I feel like a lot of creators are afraid to sort of just have a bunch of panels without any words. I mean, it's not that hard to understand that if somebody's stabbing somebody with a spear, that they want them dead. It's pretty obvious. And so, what is this like? Because I think it is kind of fun to draw in the manga style and go down that road and go down into the Mad Max world and that brutality to some degree, and also going to sort of having more of a savage and more robust comic, and it's kind of nice to also have something run like an action movie. So I think that's what people forget. Comics are supposed to be, you know, very much an escape, and they're not supposed to be ultra complicated, and there's not supposed to be like a prose essay on page.
yeah, that's that's right. I mean, you can do it. It can be done well. Like if you think of some of the greatest writers, like Alan Moore, you know, who manages to just pack so much material in, and Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. I mean, they're huge. Watchmen, V for Vendetta. I mean, these are some of my favorite comics. But yeah, that wasn't. That's definitely not what I wanted to do. And I like. I mean, I think you create what really inspires you. Like things like Akira, for me, are hugely inspiring, and some of the new manga. I mean, things like Blame or Blamu, which is Tsutomu Nihei, Knights of Sidonia, Gantz, which I've got the entire collection. Um, no Guns Life, like a lot of these manga for me really really inspire my work, and there's not a huge amount of words. I mean, if you read Akira, 6 volumes, you know, it's like that. But you can read it so quickly, you can tear through it, you know, because the pacing, it doesn't get bogged down, and it's a different way to tell a story. I'm not saying any particular way is right or wrong. I mean, I love a lot of European comics, and you know, they have some like 16, 12, 16, 20 panels a page, like crazy, you know. But
So let's even talk about this because obviously one of the things that's happened in the comic world, and I'm very curious, is that obviously manga in sales has overtaken comics. It really started in 2021, has continued in
yeah,
2022, and it's this idea that there's a lot of reasons why. Manga is when you kill off a character, they typically remain dead. For a while, if not permanently. They might come back in a flashback, but in American comics, you kill off Batman, he's coming back in 2 issues. So characters' deaths are not permanent. Furthermore, comics come out monthly, manga comes out weekly. Manga tends to have more action. Manga also tends to be simpler, and it also tends to, in stores, volumes tend to be very similar in how they're structured. If you go and you look at Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, volume one of DBZ at Barnes and Noble, I don't know what stores you have in Australia, but volume two is the same height, it's the same color scheme. The only difference is that it might have a different, spine image depending on the manga, or it might not, and it has a different number on it. And I think that these are all things that manga has done very well. On a sales point, I'm curious, why do you think there's been such a shift in both style and popularity and even what's going on? Because it's clear that more writers are now going into the manga verse, for lack of a better word here, in their writing style. And they're not going full manga esque, but there's been a shift.
yeah. I feel like it's just taste change, and I just think some of the manga storytelling is just some of the best. And if you really study the mechanics of manga, which I've been lucky enough to do over the last few years as I've been working on what I've been doing, is it's designed to be read pretty quickly. It's designed to be for you to turn the page. I mean, it's really set up in a certain way to make it as compelling as possible and to keep you moving through the story. So I think that just resonates. We all live a pretty fast pace of life, so I think something that you can easily pick up and breeze through. Um, there's something very appealing about that, and it's just cool, like what a lot of those creators are doing. And don't get me wrong, I think there are still some superb superhero comics like Matt Fraction and David Aha's or Hawkeye, the original run. I don't know if you read that with Pizza Dog and all that. Like they're some of the best comics ever, and like crazy experimentation and just super fun and super cool and great writing. And there's a lot of great. I think all the genres have a lot to offer, you know. But right now, I just think manga's hot because it's sort of it's just being discovered and and it's really cool. I think a lot of kids have been getting into manga more. So maybe the problem with superhero comics is they're focusing Marvel and DC maybe too much energy on the movies and making the movies really really good and the TV shows. So um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, but manga is just hot right now. You know,
Do
I
you
think
also think that it's cost as well? Because I mean, you go into a comic shop, a comic book is like
Mhm.
$5, and
Yeah,
I go into Barnes and Noble, which is in the States, you know, it's a bookstore, and I show up and a copy of Naruto is $10 for 10 chapters, 200 pages, and a graphic novel is, you know, 6 issues, while it's fully in color, is more like $20, you know, and it's also, you know, and it's, I don't feel like it's the same bang for the dollar, if that makes any sense. Where manga is very cheap in a lot of ways. It's also now become a hell of a lot more accessible as well. And so I don't know if that's a big thing. And even when, and obviously it gets more complicated because when you go onto Kickstarter, everything's expensive on Kickstarter. Everything is expensive on Indiegogo. You know, I haven't seen a manga NFT project per se, but again, NFT projects, you gotta deploy money, but you're also investing, which is a little bit different.
yeah,
But do you think that's also a factor as well? And it's also the idea that there's places like Crunchyroll and there's manga clubs where you can pay $5 a month and get unlimited access to like 90,000 titles of manga now as well. And so you think all of that has factored into it. And then obviously people want the cool shit and then they wind up going lower and lower and lower to discover the indie manga stuff.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, um, manga is so accessible and so affordable. Um, you know, I mean, the way NFT projects are quite different though. So yeah, you're
Well,
going to
we're
pay
going to talk
more.
about it. I promise. This is
Oh
what I
yeah,
really want to talk about. I promise.
no, but you know but I think everything you said is like spot on. Like I agree with all of that. I think the accessibility of manga and its price point, and it just decreases the barrier of entry. And also, I feel like with all the conventions, the and anime conventions, there's a real culture around it, and with the shows as well. If you're reading, if a cool like Doro Hedoro, I don't know if you read that. That's one of my favorite manga of all time. But the Netflix anime, I think, came out and turbocharged that whole franchise. You know, that's it's
Isn't
just
that
such a great.
isn't that what's going on with like My Dress Up Darling right now, where the anime, the manga came out and the
Yeah,
manga did like maybe like 1 million copies it sold, which is massively impressive. And the anime has come out, and now it's like that manga is like $90 on eBay, and it'll eventually come down. But the anime has supercharged that entire manga. It's almost like I'm trying to think of Rise of the Shield Hero is a good example of that, where it's crystal clear that the TV show and the anime has had a dramatic effect on the manga because people want the source material, and so it's super fascinating with what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That also helps a lot. When you have, I mean, and the anime that's being produced now is, it's so cool. So I think, um, like when you have a really good series like that, it gets people into the manga. Like I remember reading No Gun's Life by Tasuke Karasuma, which is an incredible comic book and incredible manga, and I was buying it off like digitally from Amazon Japan for ages before it was even translated. Then the anime came out. Then they licensed the manga. Like, unfortunately, sometimes you won't get a series until May comes on. But that also, it gets people on board and acts sort of like an advertisement for the manga. Like the anime can act, and that just gets kids on board and gets them in. And it's so accessible now with Crunchyroll and Funimation and all these cool streaming platforms. I mean, it's so. I mean, we're living in a golden age. Like if you love this stuff, because when I was growing up, I had to go and buy magazines that talked about mecha shows, and they would have a synopsis of Votoms, or that's how old I am, or a synopsis of these Gundam series 0083. Oh, look at these mech designs. Oh, like that. That was the only way I could get that stuff, and that was at a comic book shop. So, but now you hop online, and it's a golden age. So, and I'm not salty at all. Like I'm really happy that kids have access to that stuff. But yes, it's a different game now, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 29, so I'm 29, and obviously I grew up where Pokemon was the shit, and Pokemon became not the shit. But I was still playing Pokemon. I was still watching all this anime, and a bunch of people I knew grew out of it. I didn't. I thought it was still cool. I was wearing anime T-shirts all throughout, middle school, all throughout high school. Nobody else was wearing this stuff, and I didn't care because I wasn't already one of the cool kids. But I love this stuff, and I was reading a lot of manga, watching a lot of anime, and now it's become very cool. And now, if you're an anime fan, there's all these like NBA players who are anime fans. There's all these football players who are anime fans. There's all these people who are like, I, you know, catch touchdowns as my job, and I love Naruto. And it's been a massive cultural shift, and so it's
Mm.
super interesting for me because I would be getting bullied for all the stuff that's cool now, all the stuff that's popular, all the stuff that people are investing in now. Like everybody wants their old action figures now. Everybody wants their Pokemon cards back. Everybody wants, their Yu-Gi-Oh cards back. And I have all this stuff, and it's a weird world, and it just goes to show that if you're a nerd, it's cool to be nerdy now.
Yeah.
But I want to back out of the actual comic because the part that I do want to talk about that is fascinating is the NFT,
Mm.
and we were touching upon something where, and I think it's something that's fascinating where you could have taken this to Kickstarter very easily, and you probably would have done okay with it on Kickstarter. Producing a glow in the dark comic, you could have had different tiers, and you could have taken out the entire minting process. Obviously, not to go inside baseball, there's a lot less money on Kickstarter than there is in the NFT market. I mean, we're gonna call it a spade.
Yeah.
But also when you go on Kickstarter, there's also you lose a lot of freedom as well. And so this is just a different way how to get a book done, I feel. And so what is this like? Because I think a lot of people are very skeptical of NFTs, and I think people are scared of them. And I think that I have a friend who wants to do an NFT for his book and for his game. And I think that this is somewhat the future for funding your project and then infinitely funding your project as well.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it really depends on what your goals are, but it sounds like what your friend wants to do, for instance, NFTs is the route. If you just want to produce a book, you could just do a webcomic and then occasionally run a Kickstarter. I mean, that's viable. Have a Patreon for your number one fans. But what's way more, if you want to create like an IP, sort of, or like a more expanded universe and build in game mechanics and stuff like that, then NFTs like a really exciting and cool way to do it. And what's great is, there's a finite supply of the NFTs that you make. So I was very much inspired by Artifact Studios. They were the ones who were picked up by the studios, the NFT company or collective that these people that made them were actually bought by Nike end of last year, and they do these really cool anime style avatars called Clone X, and they're really cute and they look super cool. But basically, what they started doing was like one of one, like special shoes, and you get the shoe as an NFT and you get a physical shoe as well. But then and then both of those had value, sort of like when you were talking before about having the comic also have quite a lot of value and the NFT having value. And actually, the NFT ended up having way more value. So, I mean, it's you pay more to get involved at the beginning stage of a project, but if the project team keeps building and they keep doing really cool stuff, the value can just go to like a crazy level. So, you might buy an NFT for $400 or $500, and then a few months down the line could be worth 20,000 or 50,000. Like it's just a totally different ball game and value proposition. Depending.
I also think that at this point, what NFTs are is that, especially because this is the discussion I've had with people, and I've had, and look, I'm not an NFT expert. You still have to convince me to mint one tomorrow. So, and what I mean by convince me is help me figure out how to mint one. We're gonna do that off air, by the way, because I have no idea how to move money out of my Celsius account back to my MetaMask wallet. It's gonna be a disaster. I have like $700 of Ethereum, so I should be able to afford the mint, but because you're built on Ethereum, right?
Ethereum, yeah, that's right. You won't need that much. You just need a little bit of Ethereum, yeah. So
yeah. I have no idea how to do this, so you're gonna have to help me out.
Yeah, I'll help you. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
we should make that video instead. But I don't.
We should do it live. We'll do a live stream.
It's gonna be so embarrassing for me. It's gonna be so embarrassing for me. But I digress. It would probably help so many people though. I needed to get my $50 of free Bitcoin. What can I say? If you stake like $400 with Celsius, they give you $50 of free Bitcoin. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. I mean, I like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's fun. I was gonna then convert my Bitcoin into Luna, but then I realized how bad I've moved that way.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, we're gonna talk about it too, but what I think is super interesting about what you're doing is that obviously you have a lot of other things planned with this, and you have, I think, 10 years minimum planned with this. And so what is that like as well? Because now you're saying, hey, I'm going to airdrop you content every single year of what we're doing with this. And now you're creating what is known as software, essentially. And that it's because that's what an NFT is at this point, because now we're getting an application use out of it. And so that's the other thing that I think people don't understand is that you're now not requiring an email list to me. You're not requiring anything. As long as I have access to my MetaMask wallet, I should be able to access those comics, download it. As long as I hold it, I should be able to really see that stuff, and I should be able to get this story, and I should have access to all 10 years of the story after 10 years or however long it takes. Yeah. And so what is that like? Because you're finding a distribution method at this point.
Yeah, it's a super exciting distribution method. And also, see what's really exciting about NFTs. It's sort of like, and this happened when I minted some of those Clone X's last year. I was lucky enough to get on board and mint some of those anime PFPs. And what happens is when you go to get one, and it's the same when you go to mint when the project launches, and you go into mint one, it's randomized. So you don't know what rarity you're going to get until you mint it, and that level of game, that gamification element is just really exciting as well. So it's sort of like when you open a pack of cards, Pokemon cards or basketball cards or whatever it is, and you get, and the thrill of getting, like that rare rookie card, or like a foil variant, or like a super rare Pokemon or whatever it is. That just makes it really, really exciting. And one thing that I love about doing the airdrops, for instance, when we send the airdrops out, so each year there'll be comics airdropped. Some of the covers will have variant covers, like a variant comic book covers. So you may get a really rare one, and we're hoping to work with some legendary manga creators and even American and European artists. So you might get like a really rare cover when your comic comes through, not just a standard variant drawn by me, which will still be cool, of course. All the covers will be cool, but it's just exciting to get something rare, and then maybe you can either collect it or sell it for profit to someone who, let's say we were lucky enough to get a Frank Miller variant, and then someone can get one of only 100 Frank Miller variants, and then sell that for a profit. So I love the idea of, it's sort of like in Web3 we call it yield farming, or it's a DeFi term, decentralized finance, where you hold one asset and it keeps giving you more of that asset.
Yep. I know what yield farming is. I know what Axis Infinity is. I'm a dividend guy.
Oh, cool.
I love dividends.
Yep.
And I don't know. I am not. I practice yield farming in a different way. Where dividends are yield farming in
Yes.
a lot of ways.
That's right.
And I also believe in the idea of spend the interest, not the principal. And I've also used leverage. My background is I buy and sell comics, and I use my regular income to buy comics. But technically speaking, I cannot take a dividend and not put it into a drip. I could just take the money out and then buy more comics, and then take my profits and buy more equity, and then repeat the cycle. And that's what this is in a lot of ways. That's what yield farming is. And it's really brilliant. I think a lot of people, and the reason we're having this conversation is that I want people to actually see this and say, wait a second, this is not as complicated as people are making it out to be.
Yeah, and that's actually what I love about NFTs. It gamifies and makes more accessible so many of these core financial principles. I mean, I think it's really important, especially as you get older, to sort of think seriously about just your finances, and sort of taking care of your finances as a responsible adult. So and it'd be really cool to have something that can sort of maybe provide a little bit of side income for people, whether or not it's that, or introducing a coin. I mean, a lot of NFT projects have a coin, and then people can trade that coin for like merchandise or game elements, or just trade it in for money. Like, that's pretty cool, to be able to offer those sort of elements to an NFT. And this is something going beyond. You just can't do this stuff with a paper comic book, or even a digital PDF download. As much as I love those things, but this is just a new tech which offers a range of possibilities. And this is just one way that I want to do it. Like, for instance, this project, it's Glinded Art Comic and Street, and it's a mouthful, Street and Street Mech mint disc. So what that means is later on down the line, you can mint a mecha with it, a mecha profile picture, which you can use on Twitter or Instagram or wherever as your avatar.
Let's even talk about that, because
Yeah.
this is where this gets fun, right? And NFTs are very complicated. So right now, technically, I can go and create a one-off NFT of this entire interview, and then I could say you have commercial rights to it for 10,000 downloads, meaning that you can advertise on it for 10,000 downloads, and you can make as much money as you want off it for 10,000 downloads. Conversely, I could say you have no rights to it. You have no commercial rights to it. Or that you have all the rights to this, but so do I. So you have a non-exclusive commercial right to it. And a variety of other things. Obviously, I've seen this done with porn stars and certain photos and clips and other things. Super interesting stuff. And obviously, those things are doing okay, but they're much more complicated than people realize. But the idea is that even with some of this stuff, I mean, I know that there was some free, I guess, airdrops already for people who sign up for the whitelist. And I don't know exactly the rights to some of that stuff versus even minting your own mech. And because it's a mint disc, and again, I'm not 100% knowing, but where does that fall? Because obviously, I don't think people have the right to the comic. Obviously, you have the right to the physical comic. You have the right to sell the NFT. That's a right you have because that's your property. And I think NFTs are treated as property and not as commerce. But
Yeah,
I'm not an expert on that.
no, that's a good point you raise. Some NFTs have give full rights to the person that owns it. For instance, if like down the line, I'll be releasing a series of mecha, and people can use it as their profile picture. And depending on how I set the rights up, once you own that NFT, then you could go and print your own T-shirts and do your own spin-off comic of that mech or whatever it is. I mean, I won't set it up like that because this whole world is its own intellectual property. But if you think of like Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is the biggest, NFT project in the world, arguably, once you own that ape picture, then you can create your own ape coffee, or people have made their own ape comics or whatever it is. So they have full commercial rights. So it just depends on the project and how it's structured. I don't know. I'll probably do something that's half-half, where people will get limited commercial rights. Once they own their avatar, mecha avatar, they can maybe make money up to a certain amount, like maybe cap it at $100,000 a year or $1 million, but not beyond that for their own doing.
It gets tricky because it gets tricky also to the point where if all of a sudden everybody's making $100,000 with these mecha units, that further increases the value of the NFT because and so now people are making money, people are utilizing it, or somebody like me who's a mecha fan, I might just want to use it as my profile picture on Facebook, right? So I'm not looking to make 100,000. I just think it's cool and I want the clout. Or it might become the idea that I might send it as my profile pic and it might become my identifier. But then again, that also gets tricky because it's not direct commerce. Where if all of a sudden I become associated by my mecha unit, so obviously my cute little elf's up there, I own that elf. That is a signifier of my company in a lot of ways. If you see that elf, that's my company. If you don't see that elf, it's not my company. You know what I mean? And so it's super interesting. And this is why I think this is fascinating, because it's IP. And obviously, if I want to go create, I'm going to go create my own mechs. Nothing against anybody else, but I have an idea for a mecha series. But even still, if all of a sudden I could put it on a T-shirt, and then I could say, well, that elf is piloting that mecha unit, that creates a lot of versatility for me. And that becomes something that's super interesting, because somebody like me who has an already existing business can utilize that NFT in such a more interesting way than somebody who doesn't have a business. And that's why this is fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it just depends on what your goals and aspirations are, and yeah, and you're right. So, I mean, yeah, that's a really great way that you summed all that up. Um, and essentially, I mean, there's so many opportunities, and NFTs provide a whole bunch of different avenues and ways to kind of explore, you know, uh, basically what we're heading into the Web 3, the next iteration of the web. So, for instance, part of the roadmap is once people have this Mecha NFT, which is like the next NFT that you can get when you hold this one for the comic. If you min a mech, you'll also get like a 3D full body skin, which you can take into the metaverse. Which is how cool it would be to have like your own articulated full body mech suit that you can take in and represent yourself as. It's just super fun, I think, to explore those options. And yeah, it's sort of, we're just trying to take it. I was excited by this stuff, so I thought, let me throw my hat in the ring and not just do a comic book, but also have all these other cool things like a mecha that's associated with it. And the next comic book series, the 10 years of comics, will be Street Mech Breakbeat, which is sort of my, basically, I would sum up the story up as Akira, Blade Runner, Mad Max, but with mecha. Like that's sort of this cyberpunk dystopian world. I just add mecha. So I'm speaking to the right person here, Andrew Mecha Davis.
Yeah, clearly, So the story about that is actually super fascinating. A while back, you could put symbols in your Facebook profile, and I was Andrew Omega Davis, and I had the symbol of the Omega, and apparently Facebook gave me like a warning saying I had to take it down, which was so annoying because people were like, dude, that's an awesome name. Like having an Omega symbol as your middle name on Facebook, and obviously I'm a huge Mecha fan, so I'm like, I'll just throw it out there and I'll see what happens. And I think it's funny. It's been that way for like years, and I'm a huge Mecha fan. I mean, it's my favorite stuff to read out, like big robots beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, who doesn't, man? Yeah. Oh yeah, I think you'll like the story that we've got cooking then.
So you see, this is why like I need to figure out how to mint it. Like this is the whole problem. Like I have no idea how to move money from my Celsius account, how much money I'm going to need, and that's the whole problem. It's like Ethereum is so volatile now. It's like it's so crazy, but obviously that's a off air problem. I don't want people seeing my entire wallet address and robbing me blind.
Definitely
Why?
not. Don't type your seed phrase. Don't share your seed phrase.
I really do not want to be poor. I actually have to move money from Coinbase and into that too, but I gotta move money from Coinbase and Celsius into my MetaMask wallet. But
you only need 0.8. You only need 0.8 for this. So yeah.
You probably need a little more though for the gas fees, right?
Yeah, I put it maybe another 0.5, 0.05, 0.85, 0.085. I think is probably. We should
I'll
probably
probably
cover
just
it.
move like 0.1 over, and then I'll just move it back
Yeah,
whenever.
move the difference back. Yeah.
And I'll just take it. I mean, it's not that expensive, this entire thing. Also, Ethereum is really beat up right now, which is a whole bigger problem in of itself. But that's why minting this thing is going to be cheaper now than later on.
That's right.
What I'm going to say. I look at the crypto market. I'm very, very good at it. But even to go into more detail, because obviously you do have a roadmap. And what is this like to really build out a team? Because that's the other thing that I think people don't understand about when you're minting a cryptocurrency, not a cryptocurrency, an NFT. It does take a lot of people behind it, and it's not just say tomorrow I'm going to go do 5,000 NFTs. I mean, there's some serious thought that has to go into it. There's some back stuff that has to go into it. Obviously, you have to have white lists and a variety of other things. So what is that like, and how even building out this team, because it is a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. Basically, yeah, you just try to network and find people that you can trust, which is also challenging. Luckily, I had some good friends sort of connect me up with my engineer Victor, he's been really cool getting the smart contract together. That's how you can. That allows people to get on board and mint the project. But what's cool now is there are some platforms where they'll take a cut of the initial project, and they'll even, like, let's say your friend wants to do like a profile picture, like an avatar project. He can connect with this outfit, for instance, online, that where they provide the tech to you. So they'll give you a minter that you can put on your website, like the program to mint the NFTs, the program to put the different elements of the character together, to randomize it, and then mint it, which is really cool. So there are options now, because some of the, if anyone out there's thinking of putting together a PFP project or any NFT project, there's a lot of people that want to take advantage of you or take a big cut of the proceedings. So yeah, so there's definitely ways to find more affordable ways to put your project online. Things like Nifty Gateway, you can just put your project up there and sell it that way too, without having to deal with or together a large team. So if you know people, engineers, Solidity engineers that can do the work, awesome, and bring them on as partners. Work with friends if you can, but otherwise, there are some awesome platforms now for people if they just want to start dabbling and getting their projects out there. So yeah, you don't have to put like a cast of thousands together. The main thing
Yeah,
is trying to build a community. Yeah,
and the only reason why I asked this is because, again, I have two people who are interested in building out NFTs, and I think both of them are in for a rude awakening. That it is hard. It does require some capital, and it also requires you to know what the hell you're doing to some degree, and you need to find a team in a lot of ways. And this is where I'm going with this, is that obviously, you are the team behind it, and obviously the people who mint it are the investors, and
that's right.
there's a difference between those two things. So I'm investing in the NFT project if I so choose to mint one, and I figure out how to mint it, which hopefully you're going to help me figure it out. Luna all the way, guys. We're going Luna all the way. That's all I'm going to say. Just imagine it goes all the way down to like 0.00001, and then it goes all the way back to 100. And so many people just it's so bad, dude.
Are
I'm
you going to buy
sorry.
some? Are you going to buy the dip?
Of Luna? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Luna's at an all-time high, right?
Well, I mean, the thing is though, and I saw someone do this on Twitter. And this is not financial advice. They were like, oh,
Clearly.
they said I'm going to degen gamble $100 when Luna was at 0.000, I don't know, 6 cents or something. So we call it degen. Degen's the nickname for crypto people, degenerates, that that get too involved. But basically, her gamble might pay off. She spent $100 buying it for like fractions of a cent, and even if it goes up to 1 cent or 10 cents, you know. But I don't know if it's going to bounce back, man. I think Luna might be done. I think it may be dust.
I think what it is that, because I'm actually curious about your opinion. This is my thoughts on it. Is that, and again, I like to stay within Ethereum, Algorand, USD,
Yeah,
Solana. I like those. Bitcoin, obviously. And there's a few others that I find to be fascinating. I find Avalanche to be interesting. Die. I'm a very boring guy. I don't believe in some like etchy coin, which is like
yeah.
an anime cryptocurrency coin. I'm like, it has like an anime behind it and it has a game. And I'm like, this thing is gonna burn down like a motherfucker. I mean, and I thought Luna was pretty stable actually.
It
Um,
seemed to be. Yeah, yeah, it seemed to be. Yeah.
but it's also the idea that it's half and half, and supposedly the death spiral, I don't know exactly how, because the way it was supposed to be programmed is that if one exceeds a certain value and everybody moves into the other, it should have stabilized it. And clearly it didn't do that. And but again, I mean, if you spend $10 and you buy Luna, and then it even goes up, as you were saying, by $1, I mean, you're rich, very rich, because it's now you're buying fractions of cents on it. And so, I mean, it's complicated, but I don't think it's going to come back to 100. I think it could be a 3 cent coin, because I don't think the road to 3 cents, the road to 3 cents is like the road that it was at 50 going to 100. It's the exact same road. It's just that if you're going to buy it so cheap, and again, not financial advice, the question is that it's not when you get in, it's when you get out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah,
But,
that's right. And also, and that's sort of how I think a lot of great. That's why it's hard to actually to get onto a lot of good NFT projects as well, is because a lot of the good ones, like they do start out at a very affordable rate, and then if the team is good and they keep building something that's high quality, like if you think of Bored Ape Yacht Club, that was minted for 0.08, same price as what I'm minting this for. And I remember seeing it, on Rarible and different crypto on NFT markets for like, between point point 0.8 ETH to like point, 1 2 ETH. And if I bought one back then, I'd be laughing now if I hadn't sold it. That's the thing. You have to have diamond hands as well. Because, Bored Ape Yacht Club's what, 100 ETH now, floor minimum, 100, 110. I was up to 140 ETH at some point, which is, a crazy amount of money. So
and
when
then they also
celebrities start
produce
buying,
ape coins now too, which are worth money. And like,
yeah,
I mean, it's crazy to the point on what it's producing and what it's releasing, and also even the idea of, I don't know if it has a true application use beyond just it.
they're coming out with a game. I actually saw the gameplay footage. It actually looks really good. I mean, these guys have ran a seed funding round, $450 million they raised, the first round of capital from, Adidas and I think Anderson Horowitz and A16 and like a whole bunch of big dogs in the space, VaynerMedia, like. So I mean, I'm not promising any of that. Like all I want to do is I mean, I'll do my best, of course, to be as successful as possible. But if I get to work with some of my dream collaborators and get that art into the hands of people that support the NFT, then that's when we release the mecha, for instance, I want to recruit Japanese mecha designers to produce guest designs. I mean, how cool would that be? So that's sort of where I'm coming from. It's more of an art based thing, getting manga artists to contribute guest art, getting the awesome American and European artists to contribute guest art, people in games and concept art. There's some incredible art that I see every day. And I've got a list of like 30, 40 people and dream collaborators.
You can talk about that, because I think this is what makes this interesting about airdrops, right? And I don't think you're saying that's just going to be 10 airdrops. There could be more, but I think there's going to be a minimum of at least 10 just to get out the comics and just story wise. And obviously, if you're like me and you view it as a score of an NFT. So, I mean, and stop me if I'm wrong, but this is just me as an investor. Obviously, I'm very interested in the book itself, to be very honest. The NFT is also interesting, but the book, having the world's first glow in the dark comic book, like I kind of want to get it raw and CGC, because I think it'd be kind of cool, So I'm actually hoping I'm in that non-rare and it's not signed, because I actually think I'm gonna go get that thing CGC'd. I think it's gonna be actually really cool, because now it's actually an objective, commodity, and I think that would actually benefit your entire project more. But that's not the point here. So I'm not going to read it glow in the dark. I'm sorry. Don't worry.
Of course.
It'll be hanging up in my studio when I move. It'll be right on the wall.
Awesome.
It'll be great. It'll be like, I'll turn out the lights and people be like, "It's glowing in the dark." I'm like, "Yes." And then I'll flip it around and be like, "It's glowing in the dark in the back too." Oh, it'll be great. It'll be so perfect in so many ways. I wonder how CGC is even gonna deal with it. It's like world's first glow in the dark book. Like it's so interesting. I should fly you out and have you sign it at like a CG. Like, oh, that it'd be brilliant in so many ways. It'd be so much publicity. Like we should just create like a conference at a con. Oh my god. Yeah.
Except
This is
I'll be lynched by all the NFT haters. That's the only problem. I think people in anime, I don't know if anime and manga people maybe don't care as much about NFTs, but in traditional comics, like I had to unfollow a whole bunch of creators on Twitter because they were just bashing
this is
NFTs and Web3, and I was
so
just like,
see, I was in that camp. So this is actually super interesting. So I was in the camp, and it took me a while to come around to cryptocurrencies. It took me a while to come around to NFTs. And look, I think that there are a bunch of bad NFTs. I think that, and I'm very honest about it, where I think about 10% of the NFTs are good, and I think 90% of them are bad. I really do, because I think it's the .com bubble. Now the
yeah,
question is that what NFTs are good and what NFTs are bad, and that's the whole issue of figuring out. And it's also the idea of saying what risks are you willing to take. One of the things is that if I back this project, I haven't decided, but I'm leaning to thinking about minting. If I can figure out how to move money where I need to move it, um, you know, all of a sudden I'm going to then replace what I've moved back so that I minimize my risk, and I have ways to do that. And it's not terrible, and I'm going to be doing it in the next 3 months. And it's helpful that the economy is shit, and right now crypto is running with the stock market in a lot of ways, and it's not uncorrelated at the moment. It's not, so that helps my decision. But I was in that camp because I get it, where definitely because an NFT and certain NFTs are unproductive assets, and comic books are unproductive assets.
yeah,
And this is where it gets tricky, is that it's saying, okay, how do I get my return? And that's the whole thing. And it's, but I'm becoming a lot warmer to NFTs and to the concept of it, depending on what it's producing. And the fact that you're producing a book, that's what influences me about your project.
mm,
I don't know if that
awesome.
makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, it does. No, that's why I wanted to offer a physical as well. It's sort of a hedge, because you get the physical book and you get the NFT as well. So yeah, I mean, it just makes it more exciting that way as well, and also providing the utility. So, what's the benefit of holding onto it like a dividend? You're constantly getting more comics, more NFTs. Yeah, that sort of was the mindset. Is are you providing as much value as possible?
And then
And
and then even talking about the utility, because one of the things that I also think will help, and look, I think NFTs are very, very in the early stage, where you have OpenSea. I think Rarity is another one, but I also think as more marketplaces pop up to either sell your NFTs, sell your airdrops, sell assets that are produced, or rights, or even leasing out your NFT, which I think is going to be coming sooner rather than later. And I don't know exactly how that's all going to play out, but I think there's going to be a point where you could lease out your NFT to somebody for whatever they want. Um, and that's going to be a fascinating position. But the idea is that I know with Gala nodes, it sort of already happens. But the idea is that what is that like for you? Because obviously, once this becomes normal and you could sell an airdrop on OpenSea, that also is going to change the value of the NFT.
that's right. Well, that's the goal. That's the goal of it, to make it as profitable as possible for the people that hold it. I mean, the airdrops for the initial mint disc will be on Harmony One, which is a green blockchain, very environmentally friendly, and that has its own marketplace. But when the Mecca PFP drops, the airdrops for that will be on Ethereum or Ethereum layer 2, and those will be ones you can sell directly in OpenSea, and that's when we as a project providing as much value as possible to the people that hold the NFT, because that's what it's about. Like, you just want to take care of the people that are supporting the project, and you're just giving them something cool that they can collect or sell and flip and make a bit of money, and it just makes it more fun. And it's what's the point of doing an NFT project unless, for me, that's the point of doing it. You're just making something that just has a lot more dimension and value add to people that support it. Yeah,
And even going into that even further, because I think this is one of the things, and obviously, I'm sure you back a bunch of Kickstarters, right?
of course. Yeah, yep.
And so you see when somebody comes out with an issue too, and I hear people saying, I want to go into Hollywood and I want to think of my comic as more than just a comic book. I want to have a TV show, an action figure. I want to have a movie. I want to have novels. And obviously, with, a lot of them are taking more of a traditional route. And I think that, obviously, when you have the ability to mint a mech from this series, or you have the ability to do a short anime, or or airdrop gifts, or a 30-second gift. I mean, I'm thinking about doing my own NFT project with some wrestling gifts, and I think that could be fascinating. And I have a friend who does something similar, but I want to do it more on like an 8-bit, anime vibe play, because I think it'll be fun. But you can do things like that, because now this is where this gets fascinating.
Yeah.
And this expands the IP, but it also gives return rates. And it also acts as showing, hey, this is what this could look like. If you shot a 4.5-minute movie of like a trailer, that can be an airdrop. And now everybody has that trailer as an airdrop before Hollywood has it, essentially, or it could be almost an exclusive trailer to everybody in it. And so it just really, I think, expands the IP and also provides massive value. And that's the things that it's just a different way how to do it. And also, I think it gives more freedom in a lot of ways as well, because you control the ebb and flow.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly. It's like you read my mind. Yeah, there will be trailers and stuff like that. Yeah, and then maybe airdrops. I don't want to say too much. I mean, the best projects under promise and over deliver. So that's what I want to do. I don't want to. I mean, I like to give hints of like what we have planned and what we want to do, but I don't want to. Promise too much and not deliver. Rather do it the other way around. This is what we have planned, and just tease a little bit to get people excited, because I think some people, like, if I was going to invest in an NFT project, like, this is what I'd want to see. So I'm only producing what excites me and what I'd really love to see. Like, I really want an awesome, mecha profile picture, and that gives me cool airdrops of comics and art and music, and maybe the odd CG trailer. Like, that'd be awesome. Maybe a full body 3D mech that I can put inside because we'll probably all have, and some projects have this now, like your big warehouse space, and you may want to park a few mech in the corner, you know, to kind of show off, or have an art gallery inside your space, your metaverse space. I mean, it's cool. So what are you going to decorate it with? So yeah, the idea is to produce really cool art for people that they can sort of deck out their metaverses.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, you mentioned music as well, and cool beats, and also cool songs, and some cool information, and certain things that have a certain vibe. I mean, obviously, everybody has played a mecha fighting game. Everybody has played or heard Cyberpunk 2077, and having even something of that, where now you can take that music, and even if you don't have the rights to it, you could possibly download it onto your phone in a lot of ways, and now you could listen to it, and now you have an exclusive track that somebody who doesn't have the NFT,
Yeah,
doesn't.
which reminds me, before I forget, you can actually, anyone that whitelists for the project, that's like just putting your name on a pre-sale list with your Ethereum address wallet. But essentially, anyone that goes into whitelist will get 2 free airdrops. Every 24 hours, I'm sending out 2 Harmony NFTs. One of them gives full commercial rights to a 4-track EP, electronic soundtracks, and it has art and comics. And the other one is my Akira remix. I did a soundtrack remix for Akira. It's an electronic soundtrack remix, so people can play that in lieu of and kind of have a different experience. So everyone can get 2 free airdrops as well, just for like signing up for the whitelist. So
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
those airdrops have been happening for a while now.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
correct.
back on May 1st, it's been happening, and obviously I have those airdrops because I've been watching this project. And let's even talk about this project, because this is where I got confused. Is that obviously this mint was supposed to go down a little while ago? Things happened, and I don't know what
Yes.
the fuck happened, man. Like, it confused the fuck out of me. And this is the first NFT that I'm gonna mint, so I don't really know what I'm doing per se. So I was very confused, and I'm like, well, I guess I missed it. I'll just chalk this up as an L, and I'll move forward. So what happened? Who missed it? What's going on? And
Oh,
what does the
yeah. So
actual mint look like? Because that's the real question here.
yeah, we weren't able to launch. There was a problem with the minter, and so yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to launch on the original launch date. But we've run various tests, and everything's working now, which is awesome. So we've got it all airtight. So tomorrow morning, US time, PDT 9 a.m. 12 p.m. EDT, Eastern Daylight Time, is when the whitelist sale starts, and then at 4 p.m. PDT, anyone can just come in and mint it. So it just gives people a little window in case we sell out within that first 12 the first few hours. It just gives people a chance who have been adopting and getting on board early a chance to mint first. But to be honest with you, with the state of the market, I don't think it's going to sell out whether or not you're whitelisted. It doesn't matter. Probably take a couple of months to sell out given the state of the market, because NFT and crypto markets at the moment are hurting. And this also isn't a profile picture project. It's a comic, and it's got a lot of utility of multiple ongoing comics. So usually they take a bit longer to sell out, which is fine. But you haven't missed out, which is good. But yeah, anyone who whitelists will get a couple of free airdrops. So yeah, if you go to threefoldcomics.com, anyone who's interested can. And there's loads of videos for like how to set up a MetaMask and pop a bit of ETH in. I'll help Andrew now. If we hop off the live stream and it's just basically you just transfer a bit of money in your MetaMask, and then when the minting is ready, you just connect your wallet to Ethereum. You just connect your wallet, and a form will come up saying name, address, etc. Put in all your details, and then mint. And what will happen is your details will be recorded, and we'll send the comic to you. But when you mint it, you get the NFT straight away, so that'll appear pretty much straight away in your MetaMask wallet or your Wallet Connect wallet or whatever it is. So that's kind of how that works. It's not too hard. It's you just need a bit of ETH. Yeah.
I need to figure out how to move my money from my Celius wallet
Uh-huh.
essentially back to my MetaMask wallet. That's what I
Just
need
move
to do.
0.1 across. Yeah, should be good.
And then I have some I'm going to move my Coinbase stuff, and then I'm going to move some other stuff, and then I like to gather my interest with Celius or whatever it's called, because that's always fun, and staking is fun, and making my little like 5% because I'm lazy and I don't know how to use liquidity pools, and liquidity pools are a pain in the ass anyway, and which is a different discussion completely. But again, I'm happy with my 5%. I'm a very basic man, and I like to simplify everything. But obviously, there's a lot going on, and you sort of just answered my next question, where I was going to ask, obviously, what can people expect? How do they mint? With everything of that nature, you just answered, which I'm super excited for. And obviously, there's a bunch of stuff going on, and I think you also said, I have a feeling anybody who wants to mint this, whether they get on the white list or they get on the open public list, it's going to be a pretty open NFT, because I think, what is there, like 6,000 of them, give or take?
Yeah, I think it's 8,800 and something. And anyone that purchases the NFT in the first 7 days, we're sending an extra mint disc NFT to them. Well, we're doing an airdrop, an Ethereum airdrop, one week after. So after launch. So just to give a bit of extra value, and that way, everyone who mints one will have another one. It'll have the same utility, the same functionality. It just won't have an extra. You won't get a physical comic for the second NFT. That's the only difference. But we just wanted to give as much value as possible, and to kind of encourage people to act early. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff going on. So obviously, I do want to back out of your NFT, and I do want to talk about Luna. Because no, I don't want to talk about Luna. We all know where that's going. Um, Luna's a disaster. I am very confused on Luna. That's all I'm going to say. It's bewildering. I definitely agree that it's not bouncing back to $100 anytime soon, if ever again.
Yeah, I think it might be done. I'm not an expert, but yeah, I think they may have done their dash.
It's one of those things, and wasn't the one of the founders of Luna behind like BitCloud?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they were behind a failed initial project, and which,
It,
yeah,
it,
it all sounds pretty dicey to me. Yeah.
I'm curious, because where do you think the crypto market is actually going? Because obviously, I don't get to talk to people about finances, and I am a traditional investor. I'm what is known as a stock investor, dividend investor. I buy and sell comics, and I move my profits into cryptocurrencies and the stock market, because I am diversifying my income. And obviously, I think we're in recession mode. I am very bearish, but bears make money and bulls make money. And what is the rest of the quote? Do you know it?
No, no. What's the last part?
Pigs get slaughtered.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. Bulls make money, bears make
Yeah,
money, pigs get slaughtered. Meaning that you have to know when being greedy is enough, right?
yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, that's yeah.
It's one of my favorite quotes in financials. So, where do you think we're going collectively with crypto? Because I have my thoughts, but I'm curious of yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. I think we're heading into a recession. I think the chickens have come home to roost. Last time we had a recession was about to kick off just before, as COVID was popping off, and the government just printed a bunch of money and sort of kind of to pave our way out of it. But I don't think they could do that again. I think we're headed for the next bear market, but the bear markets provide a lot of opportunity, for people that are prudent and just keep their heads down and making sound financial decisions. Those people will benefit greatly next time the next bull market happens, when the next bull market happens. So, I mean, I'm with you. I think we're headed into, or at the beginning of, a recession. I think some people are saying it's not here yet, but I'm pretty sure, that's happening. When interest rates go up, recessions tend to happen. So
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling, and the way I feel about crypto is that I think that Bitcoin, Ethereum, I think Solana is going to be here. I think something like Algorand is going to be here. I think Litecoin is going to be around. And Avalanche is going to be around. Tether is going to be around. USD is going to be around, or USCD, I think it is, whatever.
USDC.
Yeah, yeah. The United States stablecoin. I think DAI is going to survive. I think something like Etchy coin. I think all these altcoins. I think a bunch of them might hang on, but I also think that a bunch of them are going to just die in the water.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think Ethereum is going to go out of business anytime soon. I don't think Bitcoin's going out of business, but I think that and this is just my opinion. It's not financial advice. It's like good stocks. Coca-Cola is not going out of business anytime soon.
Oh yeah, no, of course not. The blue chip, kind of quote unquote blue chip, but the bigger projects I think will definitely continue building. I mean, that's where we're headed. Look at Facebook's pivot into Meta. Look at, I mean, it's just whether there's the next iteration of the internet. I mean, if you had the chance to go take it on a time machine back to internet 95, 96, would you? I mean, I would, and I'd buy a bunch of Amazon stocks and Apple stocks and eBay stocks, and the key is choose the winners, choose the projects that are here to stay long term, that have the vision, and avoid the 98% of projects that are going to fail. We're early, and there's a lot of dicey stuff out there, but there's a lot of good projects too. So I think if one does research and just chooses the winners, you can do extremely well. So it's just a case of, and it sounds like you've got a good head for it. So I think you're going to do extremely well, man.
Yeah, there's also a great saying where the winners eat the losers, and you know who said that, right?
No, who said that?
The Bitcoin god, Michael Saylor.
Oh yeah, yep. It's a fact, man.
And then I mean he didn't invent it, but he's the most recent guy who said it. Where the winners eat the losers. Look at Facebook ate Instagram, and people hate Facebook and they've left Facebook, but Instagram is still kicking, Facebook is still kicking, and they're going to eat all these smaller companies. Look at Apple. Apple dominates computers. It dominates the cell phone. It dominates everything it touches. It's going to eat the losers,
Yeah.
and that's why diversification in sectors sucks. I mean, the only other company that I'm going to buy that's going to rival Apple is Microsoft for that reason, because Apple can't eat Microsoft and Microsoft can't eat Apple. They have to coexist, but Apple can eat HP.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, you're spot on. Yeah.
But anyway, I do want to ask you a few more questions about comics, not related to your project. So who wins in a fight, Batman or Superman?
We've already read it. Batman won. Dark Knight Returns. I think that's a draw, actually. I think that was a draw, wasn't it? No.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's a draw. Technically. So, favorite Batman writer and favorite Batman artist?
Frank Miller on both of those. I mean, untouchable. I mean, but I'm a mark for that. When I read Dark Knight Returns, it left such a huge impression. I mean, I've got the artist edition. I've got multiple editions. I mean, I think they're like perfect comics. Yeah.
Which one was better, 1, 2, or 3?
Of the Dark Knight Returns?
Yes.
I own all of them. I like the second one, Dark Knight Strikes Back. The third one I haven't even read. I mean, I've got it and I'll look at it, but Frank Miller didn't draw it all, so yeah. I heard it wasn't that good. Have you read?
That's all I have. That's all I have for you as far as questions. And
Oh, cool.
I do want to give you the opportunity. Obviously, where can people find you? Where can people hit you up? Where can people bother you? All that fun stuff.
Thanks, man. Yeah, threefoldcomics.com is where they can meet the project tomorrow morning at Threefold Comics on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, we've got a Discord chat. It's not that active at the moment, but it's just more for like if people have questions around minting time, they can come in and pop in the Discord and sort of ask questions. But yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms at Threefold Comics. But thanks for having me on today, man. I really enjoyed. It was really cool chatting all things
Yeah,
comics.
and all I'm going to say before you got to peace out and before we end here is that obviously, if you want to get in on an NFT project, you like the concept of the glow in the dark comic, you like what you heard, you're fascinated by this, you think the story's cool, obviously you can mint it tomorrow. And Ethereum, price, fluctuates, but it is 0.08. Obviously, you should probably go with 0.1 just in case gas fees are complicated, all that stuff. And obviously, I think there's a bunch of information on your website that is helpful. And if you are having an issue, obviously the Discord group should be helpful, as well as there's a variety of other, I guess, trying to think of the word here. FAQs is a good example. So that's something you need to pay attention to. And on that note, obviously support what I'm doing, share this interview out, check out all my socials. Appreciate it. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show, and I hope people that are maybe haven't dabbled in NFTs give them a shot. And this is, I think, a really great first NFT project. So give it a shot, and you hedge your bet with a physical comic too, and a torch. Batteries included. Free worldwide shipping. Yeah, give it a shot. I don't think you'll regret it.
Well, on that note, everybody, that is a wrap.